All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining today's town hall on the Beneficiary Advisory Committee. Um, it's 12 o'clock, so we're going to get started and jump right in. A quick note that this meeting is being recorded. This recording and all paper and electronic copies of materials presented or shared on the screen will be subject to Vermont's Public Records Act. This means the recording and all paper or electronic copies of material will be made available to the general public upon request. Participants are responsible for ensuring that no confidential or proprietary information is presented or discussed in the meeting and associated materials. I also want to let people know that there is a Q&A box at the top right section of your screen. If you wish to leave a question or a comment in that box, you can do so at any time during the meeting, and we'll try and either answer it in the chat or answer it verbally at the end of the meeting. We're slated for half an hour. So the format of today's meeting is that we will have a brief explanation of what the Beneficiary Advisory Committee is, followed by an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you have, and we'll share information about how you can either ask more questions after the meeting or apply to join the committee. I am joined today by Kirsten Murphy, who is the Executive Director of the Vermont Developmental Disabilities Council and co-chair of the Medicaid and Exchange Advisory Committee. And we've brought her here today, of course, for her expertise in the area of Medicaid, and also for her to just share the value and significance of this Beneficiary Advisory Committee starting in Vermont. So thank you, Kirsten, for being here.
Glad to be here.
So I'm going to jump into the explanation of what the background of the Beneficiary Advisory Committee is and why it's happening. So this is by federal law a committee that is stated to advise the state regarding their experience with the Medicaid program on matters of concern related to policy development and matters related to the effective administration of the Medicaid program. So what does that mean? If you break that down, we look at this graphic below. So the graphic below kind of summarizes what that blurb above means. So basically, we have our Beneficiary Advisory Committee members. They provide feedback to the state, right? So this is a committee of beneficiary members, and you'll see it's more than just active beneficiaries. We'll talk about that in a minute. They provide their feedback to the state, thoughts, opinions, concerns, ideas. That feedback goes to the state Medicaid director. So they are a vehicle to deliver this information right to the state Medicaid director. The state Medicaid director and the departments associated consider that feedback and then incorporate that feedback into the operations of the Medicaid program. And the hope and the aspiration of that program, of that feedback, then translates into Medicaid improvements for Vermonters. I will stop there, just see if Kirsten, if you have anything to add there. I can wait till the end too, if you'd rather, but I don't know if there's anything on this slide you want to touch on.
I think early on in the introduction of what the BAC is, I want to just provide a little historical context for folks. So the reason that Vermont and every other state is standing up a beneficiary advisory committee is because of a set of new rules adopted by the federal Medicaid office. So remember that Medicaid is a state and federal partnership. And April 22nd of 2024, so just a little over a year ago, this was the third in a wave of very significant new rules that the federal Medicaid office, sometimes called CMS, more acronyms, but put out there to the states. And really what the federal government was trying to do with these rules is to help every state have a standard of care around especially home and community-based services. So the things that help you live in your community, some of the things that Medicaid covers that aren't covered in regular insurance, and that every state that chooses, and all do, to participate in the Medicaid program, we're going to be able to improve the way people could actually access the services. So in some, you can think of lots of examples of places where even though the state has a Medicaid program, there might be barriers to access. So in Vermont, that might look like something like, I need a very specific type of specialist, and there isn't anyone in the state that accepts Medicaid and who can provide that service. In some states, it looks like waiting lists. There's in Vermont, it might be, hey, I qualify for some home support, but my hours aren't getting filled. So these are all the kind of barriers and access issues that this new advisory body, which is just a space for people who have currently or have in the past received Medicaid, can use their lived experience to talk about those kind of barriers and ways that access needs to be improved. I hope that was a little
Thanks.
bit helpful.
No, thank you, Kirsten. That's great. So to go from there, just to elaborate a little further, we're looking for, and these are the people who can be considered on the Beneficiary Advisory Committee, current Medicaid beneficiaries. Beneficiary is another name for member, um, past Medicaid beneficiaries, family members of Medicaid beneficiaries, or paid or unpaid caregivers of Medicaid beneficiaries. So trying to get an approach from all these perspectives, a perspective from all these different areas would be great. If you've never done this before, that's totally fine. It is okay if this is your first time on this kind of committee. And we're going to share a little bit of the details here. So frequently asked questions that relate to this committee are, how often will the committee meet? The committee will have to meet by rule, by law, at least 4 times a year. It can meet more than that, but that is something to be determined, but the minimum will be 4 times per year. Will I get paid for my time? Yes. You can get paid for meeting time. You can also get paid for or reimbursed for other related expenses like childcare, travel, and personal assistance. There are some, as always, there are some kind of requirements related to payment that we would kind of administratively figure out with you on the back side of things, just to make sure that you're eligible. But most people will, in fact, be able to get compensated for the time they spend on this committee. I've never done something like this. Will there be support? Yes, absolutely. The state of Vermont is committed to and will provide ongoing support, including training and meeting coordination. So that means the state of Vermont staff will help to help beneficiaries or other people on the committee understand the process of how the committee works, understand the background information that they need to help inform their decisions or their ideas. The state will also make participation accessible for all members. So we are committed to, trying to overcome any barriers to participation that people might have. So those are important things that we wanted to touch on. Anything there, Kirsten, that you wanted to elaborate on?
A couple things. So when we talk about making sure that we address any barriers to participation, that could be things like language access. Maybe you speak a language other than English as your first language. Maybe you need things in plain language. Medicaid is a complicated program, and we're really committed to trying to break down the information that you might want to have in a way that's understandable. Please know, though, that the information you already have, which is your lived experience with this program, is what we are most looking for members of the back to bring to the table. You are already an expert in what it's like to manage the Medicaid program for you or your family member or for somebody that you take care of. And I would also just want to say, so I run the Developmental Disabilities Council, and we have a federal requirement. Our charge is to make sure that the voice of people who have lived experience are able to be part of the policymaking process. So I personally am very committed to assisting in any way that I can to make the this particular committee, which I think is a real innovation on the part of the federal Medicaid folks, as as successful as possible.
Thanks. What's next? So the committee will be formed and members will be appointed by early July 2025. So these are appointed positions, which means that the Medicaid Director and Commissioner of the Department of Vermont Health Access appoint members to this committee. So there's an application process. And then once the application is approved by the department, they can be appointed. The first meeting will occur in the late summer or early fall. That date will be determined. And obviously the time and date of the meeting, the specific meeting, will be flexible to accommodate the members who are participating in the committee. To apply to the committee or learn more, you can go to our website. So we have a QR code here that you can scan with your phone. If you're not familiar with how the QR code works, you open the camera app on your phone and hold the camera up to the screen, and it should automatically identify the web address that's connected to that QR code. And that will be, if you click that, it'll take you right to our website where the application lives. That is a form to fill out and send to us. The hyperlink is also included there. And we have some other ways to get in touch with us if you would prefer not to use the website or need some support. You can call us at 802-879-5900, option 9, or email Jennifer Roplat at jennifer.roplat@vermont.gov. Before we go to questions, Kirsten, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Maybe just, I think you've touched on this, but the value of this committee and
Yeah.
what it presents to Vermont.
Absolutely. So this was sort of the brainchild of a woman named Allison Barkov, who works in the Federal Administration for Community Living, or did so under the past the Biden administration. And there was a real feeling that there needed, if we were going to improve people's access to the services that Medicaid was created to provide. Remember, that's a menu of services that's pretty unique. It's not just health insurance. That we would have to have a stronger voice for beneficiaries to guide how that program got run at the state level. So that's what we're trying to do here. And you may be hearing things in the press about lots of anxiety around how in the current climate, Medicaid might face some resource limitations or it might change in some way. Now is one of even more important now that we have people receiving Medicaid who have received Medicaid or taking care of a family member, be at the table while Vermont tries to navigate any of those changes. So this is, I think, a really important opportunity to help have an influence on how our program manages in what might be a challenging time.
Thanks, Kirsten. So we're going to move to the question and answer segment of the town hall. And I just want to remind people the meeting is being recorded. So please don't share confidential or personal information in the meeting. Also, the Q&A box is at the top right of your screen. You can post a question in the box and we will try and answer. I saw that there is one question already, which is fantastic. It's a great question and it was answered, but we'll just read it out loud for those who might not have seen it. The question is this in-person, remote, hybrid? And the answer, which is perfect, is the meeting format will be decided by the committee once appointments are made. We expect that there will be hybrid or fully remote options. Yeah, we intend for this to be as accessible as possible. For the kind of sister committee, the Medicaid Advisory and Exchange Committee, that's composed of Medicaid beneficiaries, but also other members of Vermont constituents. That is a virtual meeting that has been very effective. I think we have had really good success running that. So thanks for that question.
I think that's important that there will be an online option because, of course, one of the barriers in a rural state like Vermont is people live in places where there aren't, there isn't necessarily the best coverage of providers. So we encourage people who might live someplace that's a little bit harder to get to and from a hub to be part of the committee. So we're going to try to make that possible for everyone.
Okay. We'll give folks a few more seconds to enter another question or comment in the question box. Otherwise, please share this information widely. We are trying to recruit actively. So we obviously have this town hall. The video will be available shortly later today or this week online. We've also had social media posts. If you follow us on social media that you can share with your organizations. If you would like more material to share with your constituents or whoever you think, your neighbors, friends, whoever you think might be interested, you can go to our website or just get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to either answer questions or share more information. I'm not seeing any other questions. Kirsten, thank you so much for
Oh,
joining and
always.
adding all your thoughts. And we hope to see lots of people interested in the committee. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.